Hello YouTubers, Big Daddy here once again, and today we're bringing you a special episode. What we're doing is we are running some software in the bottom corner there, and we are checking out and seeing just exactly how taxing ESO is on the GPU and the CPU. I got it running. Let's check out some of the settings. We're running in 1920 by 1080. Everything is on high. I have played with some of these settings and I'm going to adjust them, including this new one right here. And we're going to show you what happens. I've taken a look at the GPU usage. We're bouncing around 30%. And if we increase the particle suppression distance to max, now we're bumping up in a little bit over 30%, 34, 35, 36. View distance, let's max that as well. See, we're still playing around 30% GPU usage. Now I am running a single fan GTX1060 6GB. It is the superclocked edition, or SC. And I just wanted to give you guys some very specific information. Now I am in, recall, Reverse March, and this is an area that's usually very taxing for lots of people. I hear lots of people when I'm here like, oh, I can't go there because that just bogs my computer down. Makes it slow, it stutters, your frame rates drop. Now if you look at my frames per second, I'm getting 20 to 30 usually. And I want you to pay attention to the frame rate right here. Here's frame rates down here. And here is the frame rates and the ping rate. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with those terms, that is the, frames per second. That's like if you took a picture book and you had 30 pages and you drew a picture on each one and you flipped the pages. You know how you could make your stick figures move when you were in grade school? Flipbook animation, that's kind of a way to explain frames per second. You're getting 30 pages a second, and that's pretty standard for the human eye. You really can't tell much above that. That's the standard. Some people always talk about, oh, I want 60, I want 120 frames per second. Yeah, there's some graphics cards and PCs that are going to run max frame per seconds in the 60, 90, 120. Is it that noticeable? Not to my eyes. But you will notice this is an 8-core processor. It's an AMD 8750, I believe that's it, running at 4 gigahertz. It's all stock, it's not overclocked, and you'll see that they are peaking into the orange, yellow, sometimes even in the red, and that is because I'm also running the recording software. Has a tendency to overtax some of the cores briefly, but the flipping around with the settings that high. So I have a lot of people ask me, well, you know, the 1060, is that card going to be decent for playing all my games on Ultra? And you're not going to be playing, you know, I can play a lot of games on Ultra settings, but the ones that are really graphic taxing, like ESO, I can still get away with everything on high, and the only setting that can go to Ultra is the shadow quality, and I can pop that on Ultra. We can apply it and you can see if it's going to tax the GPU. Now you see the cores all going into red. My computer is just screaming out, ah! Yeah, I'm on a loading screen. This is what ESO does to your computer and why some loading screens are taking forever. My computer is trying to process all the information. I've thought maybe this is a bug with the software that I use to monitor. But it only does this with this ESO, or if I'm running, let's say, Sony Vegas and Photoshop, and I got the internet open, and then I'll start to notice a lot of things peeking into the red. But with ESO, it just seems to really just go bam. And you see that it's just taking a while to get out of the loading screen. But see, my GPU, it's way down. Even though my temperatures are running a little bit high for the graphics card. Again, I am reminding you that this is a single fan graphics card that I had, and a different computer didn't have room for a large video card. So this is what they call, sometimes they call it a mini. It's one fan. Okay, here we go. Now we're back. So you see my frames per second are 25. Ping rate is 147. Alright, now if you notice that some of the mountains are not as clear, it's like the view distance is down. Even though I changed it in the settings right here, I did set everything to max. You notice that the view distance is set back down to 20. This is set back down to 25. That's because I am using this add-on right here. Votan's adaptive video settings. So what that's going to do is when you get into a place like Reaper's March or at a dolmen or someplace there's a lot of things to look at, a lot of people, a lot of things going on, it's automatically going to adjust settings for you, and it's going to drop it down here because these are the presets that I have set. Particle suppression 25, and these are stock settings. I usually can bounce that up. I usually like to run it at about 40 and 20. Can actually probably do 40. Actually, let's do 40 and 40. We'll give a little bit there. And now let's give a look. See, we're still bouncing around the 25 to 30 frames per second. We're not getting any ghosting, any stuttering. Play is smooth. A little bit of ghosting there. Sometimes you may not see exactly what I'm seeing. It's like one of those slow motion scenes in a movie where you flip around and everything seems to get slow and colors seem to bleed or blur. So now you notice my frame rate drop, but you can see these trees out here. Now let's take a look here. I will show you the view distance, an example. Okay, look right here. You see where my crosshairs are on the gate that's headed out. Alright, let's take that. And let's drop this back down to high. We'll apply that. And again, there goes the meters. They're all peaking in the yellow, orange. Not getting red this time. There we go, a little bit. Just that shadow, when you apply, notice it always takes a long time. below waiting for this window, let's explain, let's talk a little bit about the ping rate. A lot of people talk about ping. My ping's so awful. Some people aren't aware of exactly what ping is. It is the time it takes for my computer to send information online through all the cables over the internet, all the way to where their servers are, and then from their servers back to my servers. So it sends a signal there, it does all that stuff, sends back here. That is the ping, the time it takes for that signal to go there to their computer and back to mine. The higher the ping, of course, your play performance is going to suffer. But then again, I've played on servers with a 300 plus ping, and it was still playable with a little bit of stuttering, some rubber banding, ghosting, a little bit of that stuff. But I have a lot of friends that I have played with in places that are a lot farther than me. If you want to play with them, you kind of deal with it. So now what we're going to do here is I want you to keep an eye on that gate. See how it just disappeared? There it is. Excuse me. Now this is the view distance right here. Do you see how my frames per second are bouncing up into the 30s? I'm staying pretty steady around 30. This is the view distance right here. So we know this is where things are going to start appearing. And so what is it doing is it's taking some of the workload off of your processor and your GPU, your graphics processor. And that is that program, the Votans video settings one. It's doing that automatically. It's taking my settings and it's adjusting them to 25 and 20. Now, if I put this all the way back up maxed on both, you'll see that I can see the gate, and it's not going by the bridge behind it, the trees, the sky, the cloud. I am seeing everything, and my frames per seconds are dropping down between 20 and 25. Now when I play the settings like this, sometimes if this gets really crowded and packed with people and a lot of stuff going on, I'll have sudden frame drops to 7, 10, 13. So let's go back in here to the settings. Everything's still maxed. Now we get out here where there's not as much people, not as much things going on, not as many items in the background to render. You'll notice the frame rates are slightly getting better. We're going back into the 30s. It's an ancestor, so we'll pick that up. And again, we are maxing everything but the shadows right now. And now let's talk about this, or the HBAO and the SSAO. And what we're doing is, I want you to look at my shoulders here. None. And you see the lighting all around me, and it gets a little bit more realistic, more lifelike. And then here, now it's changing, and it's giving you more light. Ambient, that's more shadow. See right here? We'll turn that off. We'll turn that back on. Now this is giving you more of a realistic shadowing effect, as far as you know, where the light source is going to be coming from. So it's kind of adding more depth of field, giving you that more kind of roundish shadowed look on your armor. It's supposed to be more of a realistic gameplay. here we're still running in the low 20s. Let's take a look at our settings. Everything is still maxed on high. I do turn bloom off, depth of field off, sunlight rays are off, grass is on. Now these are all settings according to my preferences, how I like to play. I have issues with my eyes with depth of field. I have macular edema, which causes some issues, and I just prefer to play with it off. That's going to give you the, I think it actually explains it. It talks about the, how when you're looking at this rock right here, things behind it will be blurry. It just plays with my eyes, and I have a tendency to get more of a headache when I've noticed like the depth of field and the bloom is on. It's still cool effects, but it's just those are my preferences, and you kind of got to go in there and play with them. We're just trying to deal with settings as far as graphics, and I wanted you to see what my processors were doing. Now that's the AMD FX 8570 8-core processor running at 4 gigahertz. Now when I overclock this to 5 gigahertz, I get way better performance, but my computer gets warmer and my air conditioner in my room has to kick on a lot more, and that kind of makes it hard to do a lot of recording. So I put everything back to stock when I started doing a lot of videos for YouTube, so the air conditioner doesn't kick on as much. But real quick, let's pop over to Oregon. Let's go to Windy Glade. And hopefully we can catch a dolmen, and you can see what's going to be going on with the GPU and the CPU. Now again, here we are in a loading screen. We're moving from one part of the computer to another computer, and that's what a loading screen is. It's hiding is we're making a movement from one area to the other. Okay. So here comes everybody. So we must have just missed it. Let's follow it up. I'm not sure if it's going to be Matheson or the top one. What's it called? Yeah, I don't see it. The order changes. So it's up here at first hold, probably. Yeah, there we go. You can see the change in the background. Alright, now let's pop over here. Hopefully there will be a lot of action, a lot of things going on. A lot of people. Looks like there's just a handful. Yeah, a little bit more. So a lot of people have issues at dolmens because there's too much stuff going on. Now you can see a lot of the explosions, a lot of graphic intense things going on. Take a look at the processors. You can see how they are peeking into the yellow and the orange. No red, some are staying green. They're just bobbing up and down. But take a look at the GPU usage. We're at 37%, 39%. So this is a term that's been coined. It's called bottlenecking. My CPU is actually bottlenecking my GPU. That if I had a better CPU, I would have a better use of the GPU. You might hear that term. Bottlenecking would mean, the best way to explain that, they use a bottle, how it's real thick, it's got a lot of fluid in it, but when you turn it over to pour it out, it all goes rushing into the little holes. So they're saying that my processor is holding my graphics card back. So that's why they're saying it's bottlenecking. All right, we're gonna head over here. Let's pop back down into, we'll hit Matheson, and we'll give you another look at it, another domain, and the next one will be at the Windy Glade Way Shrine, and that one usually has a ton more people, hopefully enough. I want you guys to see with a lot of people, because when you're at some of these domains and there's a lot of people here, it can really, some people's computers just seize up. Got a couple of friends who play on laptops, and they can't do domains. They can't go into Vehicle Guard, they can't go into roll call, excuse me. But you see I'm getting lots of explosions, high detail, it looks really good. No stuttering, no ghosting, no rubber banding, no issues. Now I am playing on a 100 megabit cable with, I usually get about 115 down and about 15 up. They are upgrading me to 230, 200 down, 30 up, or 200 down, 40 up, I'm not sure exactly. And then I don't know when that's going to be done. So here we go, here's the boss. The boss came down. And just when the boss comes down, sometimes it just locks up people's PCs. Everything will freeze up for a few minutes till it catches up. And that's a processor issue. And the fact that most laptops don't have any kind of decent video cards. Well, you know what? I think I forgot to get my chest at the other domain. Hope you enjoyed the video. And Big Daddy is out.